Thank you, Mr. Krishnamurthy Subramanian from IMF for joining us on NDTV. My first question to you, what is your take on a people's budget that has been announced? It's a common man's budget. So what do you think? Is it really a people's budget?
I think the push to consumption that the income tax rate cut, personal income tax rate cut will provide, I think will be substantial. As I've tweeted already, I estimate that the impact of this personal income tax rate cut will be about an additional 4.5 to 4.8% of consumption and about 2.7% of GDP. So because you have to keep in mind consumption accounts for about 60% of our GDP. So this will give a substantial impetus, and I think anticipating this spur to consumption, we can now expect the private sector to also actually start investing. For long they've been saying that consumption is not increasing as much, and that's why they're not investing. I think this should provide the spur. I'll hope that the central bank also joins in this partnership and goes ahead with easing of monetary policy so that private investment can actually be spurred up.
That's right. How do you look at the tax reforms and the new tax bill that's coming up next week in the parliament? Is it really a push to the new tax regime? Do you think that the common man is being pushed to the new tax regime switch?
So I think we'll have to wait for the details. The Honorable Finance Minister, announced in her budget speech that the new tax code will have about half of the sections of the previous tax code and half the number of pages. Having been part of the committee that drafted the tax code, in 2019, and which was submitted to the Honorable Finance Minister, which had made similar strides. I will hope that many of the good things that were in that draft tax code actually will be implemented in the new code, because this can really make a difference to ease of doing business, because a large part of the interaction that companies have with government is on the tax side, both GST and income tax. And I think simplifying the tax code, which is from 1961, it's actually a 80-year-old relic now. It's something that is very important. So I'll be watching for the details there to see what comes about.
Right. So what is your take from the IMF's perspective? The credit boost for MSMEs has been announced. So what do you think and what is your take from the IMF perspective?
I think the MSMEs actually, you would recall that, we had flagged it in the, in the 2018-19 economic survey. And actually I've covered this in my recent book, India at 100 as well, that we have the problem of MSMEs, aging and not growing, the phenomenon of dwarfism. And I think the change in the regulatory, that those thresholds for, what is an MSME, I think will help certainly in, fostering growth. Also, some of the measures that have been taken, to enable more financing to MSMEs, I think will also be something that will help their growth, because MSMEs that grow are the ones that actually, become more competitive and also provide jobs. And so I think from that perspective, this is something that is actually very welcome.
All right. And a key announcement, 100% FDI in the insurance sector. How do you think this will impact on a macro perspective?
No, I think that's a very important step, because, India as a country is significantly underinsured. There is ample scope for, increase in insurance. And I think this will enable, many of the global players to enter the Indian market with, with 100%, FDI. And I think this is something that will, thereby spur more competition in the insurance sector. I hope that IRDA, also focuses on on reducing the complexity of regulations, and also ends up adding to this by really moving to a more a simpler regulatory regime that will really help in pushing in the insurance, because there are lots of areas where insurance can really be improved, thereby reducing the risks that many Indian households face. So I think that's a good move.
Right. Going back to the tax question, my last question to you, no income tax up to 12 lakh rupees. That was a massive announcement. Is it really a win-win for a common man considering inflation on a high and tax rates continuously rising?
Yes, I think so. If you look at the 1 lakh crore that is tax foregone, that will clearly be money in the hands of the middle class. As I've tweeted on this as well, this will generate a consumption multiplier, because taking savings rate to be around 20%, that translates into a consumption multiplier of about 5, and overall, therefore, consumption will go up significantly, thereby helping to spur growth as well. So I think this is something that is very good. I am a little puzzled why why you're looking for a challenge within this opportunity. I am somebody who actually prefers looking at the opportunity within a challenge. This definitely is a very good move.
Thank you, Mr. Subramanian, for joining us on NDTV.